Well, joining me here in our studio, we have the Minister for Education, amongst other things, sport and that, but education is what I want to talk to you about, particularly here today. It's been a story I haven't probably kept up to speed with you because every time we talk about doing something, things move on. Yep. We're now on a day where the schools are breaking, so I presume everything is now almost particularly stopping. But we're still not there. You're not there. We have problems.
We do. We have issues. And we have problems that need to be solved. So this year, obviously, has been one of the most dramatic for education on our island ever. When you look back to the state we were in March, we closed all the schools. We didn't know whether we'd be able to open them this year. At that point, we did open them. Kids went back to school for 5 weeks before the summer break. We managed to get free school meal vouchers right the way through the summer break to support those low-income families. We opened on time. We've had an uninterrupted term of teaching. So I'm really hopeful that all those children who lost out on a bit of education have managed to catch up now. We went through the whole debacle of the exams over the summer as well and dealing with that. And I think we're in a much better place now to deal with what's going to happen next year. We've got a lot more planning in terms of the exams. We've also learned from that whole experience. So people being at home, remote learning. We've arranged for laptops to be provided to those kids who don't have laptops or IT or don't have internet connectivity at home, so that we're a lot more resilient should we ever have to close a school again in the future.
Not once there did you mention unions.
No. Nope.
Which it seems to me the crux of the whole thing, isn't it?
That's schools. That's schools. What is possibly more important than the schools? You've got pupils, you've got families, but you've got the staff. None of our schools could open without staff, and by that I mean the catering staff, the cleaning staff who came into their zenith over this time period, but also teachers. When I took over the department in March, great honour, but I knew that there was an ongoing industrial dispute. One of my key priorities was to settle that. We did make some inroads, then coronavirus hit, and so we've had to pick that up at the latter part of this year. We've got 3 of the 4 teacher unions to agree to a deal which recognises some of the pay issues from the past, recognises a lot of the communication issues as well. We're going through at this moment an overall of the structure and function of the department. We've had quite key changes in terms of the structure of that and the roles and responsibilities, and we are listening to teachers. We are listening to the profession and trying to work with them in a much better way than happened before.
Yes, no. I mean, you have got some on side, but you haven't got this agreement still. So I understand where we're going here, because you've got some work to do.
Absolutely.
And one union is particularly not talking, right?
No. They are talking. There's the communication. There is discussion. There is a lot of talk going on. You're quite right. There's not absolute agreement. The deal that was agreed by 3 out of 4 unions isn't the end of anything. It's actually, I hope, the start of a new beginning in terms of the way we really recognise the importance of education on our island. We value and respect teachers on our island. And we put, from a department, a ministerial point of view, we put culture, people and relationships key to what we do. So we don't get into the situation where you have a vote of no confidence by teachers in the department that's meant to be helping them. What we've done is being quite clear to take on board some of those issues. For instance, the whole inspection issue. Right, we'll just halt that. Let's get together. Let's negotiate. Let's communicate and get a better way of doing it. Exam boards, which ones we use. Yep, we'll deal with that. We'll have a lot better communication in terms of forums where teachers can express their valid concerns and they can be listened to and then acted on. And we will deal with pay as well in the long term.
So where are we? I mean, this thing's floated on for so long. Where exactly are we? Because 3 unions have, or is it 3 have agreed?
So we have 4 unions representing teachers on the Isle of Man. 3 of them have accepted the deal, and so they've called off their industrial action. They were talking what's called action short of strike.
Are they the smaller unions, are they, number-wise?
They are. They represent some of the head teachers, some of the leaders of schools. NASUWT also represents teachers and mainstream teachers. They felt that the deal didn't actually address their key issues, which were about pay, which were about workforce issues and workload, and also about some historical issues in terms of pensions. The door is still open. We will carry on working with them. We will carry on meeting with them regularly. We will carry on negotiating with them. But they've elected not to stop their action short of strike. And as we speak, they are balloting to their members to see if they want to continue the strike in January or even escalate that action to a full-blown strike.
How disappointing is this for you? Because, I mean, this was something you did take on in a sense. Yeah. You came in as a new face, fresh ideas, I presume, and there was a trust issue before. I'm pretty sure that things weren't particularly in a happy place. Yeah. You seem to move things on, but is it intransigence?
No, I don't think it's intransigence on either side. I think there is a genuine will there to listen, to hear all the arguments, to try to resolve as many as we can, but to actually recognise that the Isle of Man and the whole world is in an exceptional situation at the moment. And so some of the requests, even if they're valid and even if I agree with them, it's going to be very hard for me to deliver those in the short term. Do
you have a time scale that you've got to work to? I mean like a Brexit situation, we've got to get sorted.
Well, I mean, this has been an ongoing dispute, and it's clouded relationships. It's distracted from a lot of the work that teachers want to do. Teachers don't want to take industrial action. They don't want to be going to meetings in the evening to talk about votes of no confidence. They've been driven to that, and what I want to do is hold out that hand of friendship, say we are going to reset that relationship. We're going to listen to teachers, respect them, value them, and move forward together. But that may take time. Do I have a deadline? No, because bringing arbitrary deadlines is never particularly helpful. We need to consolidate this relationship. We need to evolve the way we relate to each other, and we need to reach a just settlement at the end of the day.
Is this a more militant side of all these unions?
No,
why are you having problems with this one particular one? What's going on?
I don't, it's not an issue of militancy or extremism at all. I completely respect all the union officials that I'm working with. I've spoken directly to Dr. Patrick Roach, who's the General Secretary of the NASUWT. We had a very good hour's conversation, during the summer about the situation on the Isle of Man, about the situation in England and how we differ here, because we're not closing schools a week early here. We actually will open schools on time in January. We're looking forward to hopefully an uninterrupted academic year where children, students and young people can actually exhibit their full potential and learn. We're in a different situation, but their membership does have views which I need to take on board and we need to try to deal with.
You potentially could see full industrial action, is that right? I mean, is that the ballot is for that? Is
the ballots going on at the moment for NASUWT is to continue action short of strike, which involves things like not covering.
So not full strike action.
They're also balancing on full strike action as they did previously in the year. They didn't have the majority of people who wanted to take full strike action, but they are asking, as they should do, their membership again. They're reballoting. What the action short of strike does is it stops some after-school activities, covering lunch breaks, those sort of things, those extra things that we really value teachers taking part in, which enhance the experience of students. And I regret that they're taking this action, but again, that's their right. They've balloted for industrial action and they're taking it.
But you must be disappointed. You've talked to all the unions. You've got three to agree, and you can't get this one to agree. So something's, I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. Why this particular union is so.
I regret their position, but I respect it. I have to respect it. What I need to do is understand what extra they want and see if we can accommodate that within the department.
And have you got money? Is there more money? Basically, it's all about money, right? It's got to be.
It's not all about money. No? I think the unions have been quite keen on that. It is about the relationship. We're changing that. It is about the structure of the department and how it works, like inspections. We're changing that. It is about things like the education bill coming through. We're negotiating that. We're changing the bill when it comes through. It is about pay, both historical pay and moving forward, how we attract the best teachers in the world to the Isle of Man and how we retain those excellent teachers we have here at the moment.
Well, we're hearing things that because morale's low, usual thing, but we hear that in everybody probably. I mean, that's just the way it is when people take a form. But, it's not good to hear, is it?
No,
if that's the case.
Absolutely.
And also, we can't hire at the minute because people don't want to come into Fortress Isle of Man, it appears. Is that true? You find that?
there have always been some issues in terms of recruitment to the Isle of Man. A lot of the people who are here have got a personal tie, or they're into sailing, or they're into motorbikes, or that sort of thing. There is a shortage of teachers, particularly in certain subjects, the science subjects, maths, throughout the UK. In the same way as there's a shortage of doctors and nurses and other frontline staff, we need to be able to attract them here, both by having a decent pay deal, but also by having decent terms and conditions. They actually want to come here to be part of an excellent education service, and that's what I need to create.
How worried are we? How short of teachers are we? I mean, there's definitely, headmasters, headmistresses, we even call head teachers, are calling foul here. Then there's an issue to be addressed.
There are, because quite a few of our head teachers, earlier on in the year would normally go across to the UK at careers fairs and recruitment fairs and actually sell the Isle of Man for us. They haven't been able to do that this year. Putting adverts in the paper, it just isn't the same nowadays. You need that personal relationship to attract people here. We have recruited teachers here, but there are still vacancies. There's not a huge number of vacancies, but they can be in key areas for key subjects. So we need to get out there. We need to make sure that we can attract the best teachers to our
And that's putting pressure presumably on people who are still there, because they've got to take more classes. It's the usual thing. They're running around, headless chickens sort of thing.
And so this needs to be solved, because if you have a shortage of staff, if you have people taking action short of strike, it drags down morale. People are working harder, and so they have less ability then to sell themselves if they're talking to their colleagues in the UK and say, look, come over here. We are in a much better situation. I think you'd love working here.
So where do we go? Just to finish this off, I mean, have you got a time scale? Have you got some sort of idea that when things could be looked at again?
When schools reopen in January, we're going to hit the ground running. We're going to open up lines of negotiation and communication with all the teachers, and we're going to move forward together.
Just to finish, if there was any sort of COVID outbreak here again, you got everything in place? There can't be any snow days now, can there? Because now remote learning is in place. Is that the situation where you literally could carry on here remotely?
Absolutely. What we did earlier on in the year, after schools got back to normal, is sit down with all of the teacher representatives, head teachers from most of the schools, public health, and went through action plans. So if we had an outbreak on the Isle of Man, what would we do? How would we suddenly switch either to close a school in a particular area, or close a number of schools in a particular area, and how we'd switch onto online working straight away. And we've learned so many lessons. We've done quite a bit of training for teachers to use different ways of teaching and learning remotely, whether that's online or by workbooks. I think we've got a much more resilient service now than we have had before.
And when this is all over, people will look back and be able to monitor how we've done things here, presumably, and everywhere else who has been disruption all over the place. Here, I mean, there was some, obviously clear there was some, but are you quite relieved or satisfied that everything is going to be okay, exams and things like that?
There's a lot of uncertainty as we go into Christmas. I'm not going to say everything's fine, we've got everything covered. We haven't, but by working together we can overcome any obstacles the world or the pandemic throws at us.
And you're happy to continue this position up until you become Chief Minister next election?
I'm very thank you, Paul. I'm really proud to be Minister for an education service which has benefited me and my family so much. I'd love to put more back into it.
Please like and subscribe to the Isle of Man TV channel. Thank you.